So tonight's class is on developing compassion, enhancing our compassion. Sure, we have compassion anyway. Well, having said that, sometimes we can be detached from our compassion. You know, it can be we can be dissociated from our feelings if we've had traumatic experiences in the past, and that's how our subconscious or our unconscious has decided to protect itself, protect us. If you're listening to this in real time, or you're watching it on YouTube or whatever, and you find you don't develop compassion and you can't over a period of tries, then don't worry. Don't panic about it or anything. When I first started meditating, I had oodles of love. I could generate masses of love. I couldn't develop compassion. It was a muscle that hadn't been used much. Now, I'd like to think that I've always been compassionate, but there's just a deeper kind of warming up inside in our heart area, which took me a while. And I mean, I know I've developed compassion because I'm, kind to animals and things like that. But there was at the heart level, there was a bit of warming up to do, and it took me a little while. And I didn't panic, and I don't recommend anybody needs to panic. If you're not developing compassion after you've meditated for quite a while on it, then maybe seek some guidance, from me or someone else. The key that unlocked it for me really was accepting my own suffering to some degree. The deeper we accept our own suffering, obviously, the deeper we can accept other people's and acknowledge it. And also, I think there's two sides to that coin. The more peace we find in meditation, the more we can open up to suffering, because we have an out, we have an alternative, we have a solution, an alternative. If we don't have that, why would we open up to more and more suffering? It would just be probably too disturbing for us, too upsetting, and potentially, maybe that's what a lot of depression is. I don't necessarily mean, medical, clinical depression with a medical imbalance, a chemical imbalance, but the sort of depression where we feel trapped, like we haven't got any reasonable solutions to things, and yet our existing existence, our existing experience is too much for us to bear, or nearly too much for us to bear, then we can get quite depressed, I think. And then ultimately we can commit suicide. So obviously, if you've been meditating, you appreciate this capacity in your mind for peace and for compassion and love and all these different beautiful states of mind. And therefore we have some capacity to some degree or other to open up to our own suffering and to the suffering of others. And that in turn allows us to feel compassion. And a key component within all this is love. We need love to, we need love to develop compassion. It's the basis for compassion. So I teach meditations on love sometimes, as you know. So it all connects together. If we don't have concentration, we can't have our mind staying on the love, the feeling of love. We can't generate it. We can't concentrate our minds on thinking about other things. As the mindfulness develops, we stay with the feeling for longer. So we marinate our mind, imbue our mind more with love. We reflect on our suffering to the degree that we can, probably balanced up with the amount of peace that we can generate. And we can then develop compassion. So it's quite a lot of components, quite a few steps, and they're all important steps. Can't really do it without. If one of those is missing, it doesn't really work in that moment. Any moment can change. Obviously, any moment can be completely different from the next. Totally different. Right. So we'll do a breathing meditation. We'll do body relaxation to start with. And we're going to, I'll do just set up the second meditation on compassion, and we'll do that. Okay, so I'll weave in a little bit of um, compassion meditation into this body relaxation, just to start to warm us up to pointers in that direction. We can start by acknowledging that our body hurts. Before we relax it, we know that how is it now? Check in, how is it now? Is it relaxed completely? Has it got a bit of tension in it? And we can check moment by moment. Is there suffering arising in our body moment by moment, like a little itch that needs to be scratched, or an ache somewhere, or a little pain or discomfort? Or is your body not generating any pain at the moment? And we can start to check in with different parts of our body. But first, we're going to bring our attention to our thoughts. Observe your thoughts coming and going, and see in this meditation, in these moments, what's arising. Does it seem pertinent to the day, or random, or bothersome? Just let them come and go. So these are our thoughts as they're coming through at the moment. Now bring your awareness to your abdomen. Notice what feelings. Give it plenty of time, there's no rush. And if they're unpleasant, or they're anxious or stressed, then we can still practice sitting with them, like we can bear physical problems. So we've met with our body and our thoughts and our feelings. Each moment is different, as you've observed, and there's no controller of them. There's no, not that we can find. We can't find an object separate from them that, or even within them, that is a me. If we look inside one of our atoms, there's no me in it. You know, an oxygen atom within Paul is not Paul's oxygen atom. There's no label stuck on it. It doesn't know where it is in space. And yet, we think there's a me that has a body. And the same with the thoughts. The thoughts come and go. We don't know where they come from. We don't know where they go to. Therefore, why are we so certain that this mystery has a person behind it? And our feelings the same. We don't know where they come from and go. Why are we so sure that there's a person behind it? And yet a person appears in our mind. There's a sense of a person here now, meditating. But that's just another thought, another part of awareness. It seems like there's this sense of a me in my head. Me in my head. There is a me in my head. Doesn't make sense, does it? The mind just plays around with this thing that is deceptive. Okay, so we're now going to relax our body. Bring your awareness to your face. Bring your awareness to your jaw muscles. Relax them deeply as you can. Now we bring our awareness to our cheeks, our lips, our eyes, around those areas. Any tension you find, let them relax off. This is done with self-kindness, so it's a compassionate act. We don't want to suffer. Now the same between our eyebrows. Imagine the space between the eyebrows widens, feels more supple, more spacious. The same at the crown of the head. Bring the awareness to the crown of the head. Imagine this space above the crown and within the skull. Recognize that this is all one space. Experience the space above the crown of the head and below the crown of the head. One space. Now we're going to relax our limbs. So bring your awareness to your left shoulder. Scan with your mind all the way down your left arm, your left hand and fingers with compassion. We don't want to suffer. We want to relax off any tension or tightness that we find. Let the left arm and hand and fingers feel nice and relaxed. Just giving our limbs a little holiday. The same from the right shoulder down. and the left hip. Bring all of your awareness to this place. Scan down the left leg, the left foot. Be gentle and kind to your limb. Let it relax. And the same from the right hip. Same exercise, compassionate checking. Bringing the awareness now up to the shoulders and the neck. Make sure your posture is nice and comfortable. And imagine any tension or tightness just melts away from the base of the skull to the ends of the shoulders. Bringing the awareness into the body cavity, we imagine black smoke swirling around inside of us. Bound up in it is our anger. Bound up in this black smoke is our anger. That we're sometimes, if we're honest, we're scared of its power. We're scared of what it can do. With 3 nice, steady, deep out breaths, visualize this black smoke coming up through the nostrils into the distance and taking away the anger that blocks the compassion. Imagine that all the anger is gone. Now, as you breathe in, visualize sparkling golden light. Has the power to uplift the mind, make it feel clearer, more loving, lighter. Imagine this sparkling light fills up more and more of your body and mind. Imagine with each in-breath of sparkling light there's tenderness. The love that you give out to family and friends, animals, insects. It's inexhaustible, so there's no problem at all providing some for ourselves. We're not putting ourselves above anyone or below anyone. We're not disadvantaging anyone. We can just develop inner love, just kindness to ourselves. With the last few golden lighting breaths, imagine your whole body and mind are imbued with deep care and love. Now we're going to do a special breathing meditation as a precursor for the mindfulness practice. We're going to do a loving kindness breathing meditation. Bring your awareness to your breath. And as you breathe in, just gently think, I'm going to be kind to myself. And breathe out. And as you breathe in, I'm going to be kind to myself. And then combine this with, as you breathe out, I'm going to extend my kindness to others. That doesn't mean we're doormats. We have a whole range of options available to us in everyday life and in our interactions, from the gentle to the firm. No contradiction between that and wishing kindness for others. We just put boundaries in our everyday life whilst having a good heart. So as we breathe in, I'm going to be kind to myself, and as we breathe out, I'm going to be kind to others. And we bring our awareness to our nostril lines, maintaining the feeling that we have. And just allow our breathing to be comfortable and relaxed, noticing the cool and warm sensations in our nostril lines. Finally, we bring our awareness to the rims of the nostrils. We notice the cool and the warm sensations of the rims of the nostrils. And we can dedicate the peace and the love we've created to our own journey towards contentment, and the same for others. And when it feels comfortable, just allow your eyes to open. Thank you. Okay, so a little setup for the second meditation on compassion. Minds tend to arise in set ways. It seems pretty amazing that human beings have very similar minds, but we do. You know, the stories are infinite. There's however many, I think there's nearly 8 billion people on the planet right now, all having their own story, their own life. Incredibly complicated interactions between them. But we can boil all of it down to the states of mind as opposed to what those states of mind are creating as a story. So we have love, gratitude, compassion, jealousy, anger, aversion, shame, guilt, grief, loss. We don't have too many general feelings that are going through us. Worry, worry. Sentimentality, nostalgia, think about the past, we think about how good the future might be, and we predominantly focus on getting more pleasure in our life and less unpleasantness, more resources, house, car, stuff, money, pay rise, whatever it might be. Respect, more respect, less criticism. Very complicated stories, but they all seem to fit into a small little package when we look at the underlying feelings and intentions, drives. And we want to be happy. Our mind, if we check, we're always looking to be happier, moving in our chair, trying to get a better job, get better conditions, nice food, move people who are nice to us nearer, move people who aren't nice to us further away, listening to music, channel hopping. We don't know what you do these days, modern technology, Fandango, searching through Spotify for 2 million or 10 million tracks, trying to find the one that's just right. And we're trying to get away from unpleasantness, aren't we? We're trying to get away from where it might be a bit too cold or a bit too hot. We might be a bit hungry, or we might be too full, or we might not be quite comfortable on our pillow, so we rotate over in our bed. We're moving the chair. The shower's too cold, it's just right, it's too hot. The bath's too cold, it's just right, it's too hot. And, on and on. And anger is part of that. Anger is a weird attempt to find happiness. It actually causes unhappiness, destroys our peace of mind straight away when we get angry, and it destroys the person's peace of mind, probably, very likely, who we're getting angry at. Its motivation is to remove what it is we don't want. So we might be getting something that we don't want, or not getting something that we do want. So we might want something, can't get it, something's in our way, even if it's getting through the checkout quicker, or getting to work quicker, or not getting a difficult email, whatever it might be. We're trying to alter our circumstances. We're trying to get things that we can't quite get. We're trying to get rid of things that we don't want. So there's an honourable intention behind it. There's a decent, compassionate intention behind anger. It's trying to look after us. It's trying to make things okay again, less painful. So generally we get angry when we're not getting what we want, or getting what we don't want. And the stories around anger are a millionfold, but we can check when we're angry. Not to diminish the issue at all, because it may be valid, but we can check, am I in some way not getting what I want here, or getting something I don't want? Not to invalidate the situation, but just to get to know how that mind functions. Getting to know how anger functions allows us to see the next step, which is that it's deceptive. Once we dwell on the issue that's going on, we go over it, there's a certain object that is the object of our anger, a person or a thing. And our mind of anger wants to help us, it wants to solve this problem, and it goes over and over and over. It ruminates, it meditates on the problem that it perceives, and it embellishes it and grows it. That person becomes awful, or that computer becomes a real pain because it just won't work. Zoom, whatever it might be, you know, it just becomes worse and worse, and we embellish the problem and we're magnifying it. Now, it's not getting any bigger, it's getting bigger in our mind, and that's the part of the delusion. And then our mind wishes to be separate from it, to make it go away, either by hurting it or just making it go away some other way. Wants to punish it. That's when we sort of lash out verbally or mentally or physically. Or we can even just stop. You know, we can send someone to Coventry, we can ghost them, or whatever the phrase might be, or a little tut, or a roll of the eyes. A whole range of ways to be hurtful. And we have our own things that tend to make us angry, don't we? We have our own buttons to press, particularly things that trigger us. But there can be smaller stuff as well. So we can start to notice these little grooves in our mind, where they're going towards certain people. And they're embellishing the fault in the person. So they make the person the fault rather than the action, for a start. So somebody says something, there's an issue there. It doesn't have to be personal. We sort of very quickly make it personally. We say they're a pain in the arse, they're trouble, whatever they might be. And then we embellish it and we make them sound to be a worse and worse and worse person. We can start to notice that in our mind. Am I doing that? Am I making it personal? And am I fanning the flames of this delusion and making it bigger and bigger and bigger? We know it's delusional because if we sleep and wake up in the morning with the anger gone, the issue seems far less. We can almost feel a bit embarrassed or ashamed or relieved, whatever it might be, but we think, yeah, it's not that bad. You know, all those things I was going to do and say, and that email I was going to send last night, it's not so bad. It's not so bad. I've got it in perspective a bit better. I can rationalize it. So the delusion has diminished. The delusion has reduced. The anger has reduced. So we see through the world through a distorted filter with anger. Distorts it. It's like this distortion has gone away again, and we can see things a bit more clearly. So we need to know what anger does to be able to understand compassion. So anger says, you're the cause of the problem, and I want to hurt you. And compassion says, I don't want you to hurt. Compassion, I don't want myself to hurt, or someone else to hurt. I don't want you to hurt. I want you to hurt to go away. How wonderful if you had no pain at all. And that's different from pity, because compassion, we meet someone equally with compassion. We have to, otherwise it's pity, and pity is sort of, I'm up here and you're down there, and oh, poor you for having these problems. And I used to have that. I used to have pity. I noticed that was what was blocking the compassion I mentioned earlier. It didn't feel arrogance. It doesn't have to be arrogance, pity. It's not an up here as in a better person. It's, I don't suffer like you do, so it's terrible for you. And there's a denial in there of our own suffering to the degree that we've got some peace to come to, a bush shelter in our mind to seek refuge in, and to taste that peace. So the more we can taste peace, the more we can taste suffering. And there's a little bit of a journey to build up the capacity to sit with unpleasant feelings. But the more we do it, the more we open up to our suffering and our condition. And then we meet other people at the same level. We have empathy, you know. We have empathy rather than pity. And that empathy deeply understands, doesn't it? We know that. We know that we can relate to certain people because of their problems. And there's great comfort in just talking, isn't there, to somebody who understands. Somebody who understands our problem. There's a therapeutic aspect to that. We know that they've got compassion for us at that time. We know it's a very different situation when we meet a doctor who who has compassion for us, as opposed to a doctor just going through the process. I don't mean that critically, because they have a hell of a job, don't they? Difficulty in the NHS. But it's a fact, isn't it? We feel almost a bit better straight away when somebody is compassionate, nurse or doctor, when we're scared or in a lot of pain, or particularly if we're not sure what it is that we've got, we're worrying, can tighten up our mind. And so that compassion can be immediately healing to us to some degree. And it protects us from, compassion protects us from our anger. Because if I don't want you to hurt, I'm not going to develop the anger. There's no space in it. It's almost like a seesaw. Anger, compassion, anger. You can't have a seesaw, does that? It's not a seesaw. We can't have the anger and the compassion because we can't hold in our mind, I want you to hurt and I want you to not hurt. We can't think yes and no at the same moment. I don't know if you've ever tried it. I might have mentioned that before. In that exact moment, we can't think yes and no at the same time. We can't have anger and compassion at the same time. So if we've got compassion, it protects us from developing anger. So that stops us ruining our peace of mind. And obviously, if we're not developing anger, we're not looking to harm others with harsh speech or hurtful speech, divisive speech, talking about people to other people, hurtful speech, direct, nasty thoughts and harmful actions. So we can have like a protective gatekeeper with compassion. And we can use it very specifically with particular people, with ourselves, because maybe we've got some self-hatred, some self-loathing. On some level, if we didn't have those, we'll be very, very fortunate. I think most of us have those things going on to some degree. That little voice in our head that's critical, that critic in our head, it's a story coming from self-loathing, self-hatred, self-anger, that we weren't born with, that came out of circumstances and things people said to us. And our guilt. So if we have those voices in our head that criticise us, then there's definitely benefit to meditation practice on compassion. It reduces that down. But we can do it specifically with people. That's what we're going to do tonight. We can think about someone who we're currently having difficult thoughts towards, harmful thoughts towards, hurtful thoughts, negative thoughts. We can start to try to understand that they suffer as well. Not to remove our protective boundaries in life or to diminish what might be happening in the circumstances. None of that. But just to try to come at this from a wise angle of more understanding of more of the situation, which includes me and them, you and them. It's a bit glib to say we don't ever know what's going on in somebody else's life. It's true, isn't it? It's true. We don't know what's going on in somebody else's life. And it can stop and protect us and protect them. Still deal with all the SHIT in the world, still deal with it. It comes along. But maybe we can do it in a way that's got more and more peace in it. And compassion can sound wrathful. Compassion can sound very firm, be very firm. A child can get told off really quite harshly by a parent who's really concerned that that toddler's going to run into the street and the toddler's not listening. A parental expert might say you don't need to do that, but you can tell when a parent is being quite wrathful with a child. It might tell us not to talk to strangers in a serious way or whatever it might be. And we can put boundaries in place and we can meet people when they're being unreasonable in firm ways. And we can do it compassionately. We don't have to get angry, but we can actually, compassion gives us the opportunity to be more firm if we need to, because we're in control. We're not going to lose it. And that's develops self-respect. If we can meet problems firmly and directly and not lose it because we've got compassion, the other person might think we're angry, they might think we're annoyed, but we're not. We're just being very firm because we know we're not going to lose it, and we can go there and maintain clear thought processes. That's really important. We can maintain clear thought processes when the going gets tough. So we're going to do a little meditation on compassion. So first of all, we can consider that we have love. We wish for others to be happy, and we wish for ourselves to be happy. We have that capacity, and we have an endless supply of love. So we want the world to be love. And we've received love in all sorts of ways from all sorts of people. So earlier we did that mantra of, I'm going to be kind to myself. I wish for others to be kind, to be happy. I'm going to be kind to others. Now we're going to think about the suffering of the people around us. Choose a person practical, not way off the scale necessarily. If you want to jump in the deep end, feel free, but you might want to choose a less difficult person. Somebody who's annoying you, irritates you, made you angry, whatever it might be, a loved one. Someone that this is going to make a difference to your life and theirs in the next week or two, maybe. Let's keep it practical. Now we're going to consider their suffering. We're going to consider the things they may have gone through as a child, the things they may be going through at the moment, and things in between. So it's very personal, this. We can think about the things these people may have gone through or be going through. So I'll leave you now for a couple of minutes to contemplate. And we have to be mindful when we contemplate so that we can sustain the contemplation. So if your mind goes away and comes back, it's right, where was I with that contemplation? You refine the end of that thought process, and then you continue, or you come back to the person and start again. So we've contemplated their suffering. Maybe they quietly don't share their pain, all of their pain, their worries, their concerns, their fears, their anxieties, their stresses. The language is very crude, very, very, very easy to be misunderstood, even a bit misunderstood, both ways. So communication is very fraught with difficulties. What we can do now, on the basis of our love and recognition of their suffering, we can develop the wish for them to be free from suffering. We don't want them to suffer. Now, if there's been some anger in the past, there might be resistance. So it's like we're washing away the anger. If there's resistance, that's fine. No problem. We just carry on with this wish. So even if it feels fake, we can fake it to make it, because we're washing away the stain of anger and replacing it with beautiful compassion. So for the next few minutes, we imagine this person in front of us, and we can think, I don't want you to suffer. I want you to be at peace. If the mind wanders away, we just come back for the last minute or two and just understand that they suffer just the same as us. We don't want to be unhappy and in pain. We don't want that for them. And anger is a delusion. They suffer from the same delusions that we do. It's not really what their mind is like when they wake up the next morning. we can dedicate the compassion we've created tonight to our own welfare, to the welfare of others, to the reduction of our anger and the increase of our compassion. You may wish in the future to return to this person and this practice. It's an upward spiral. The more we do it, it's very powerful. The more we do it, the more it seeps into our heart in a good way. When it feels comfortable, just gently allow your eyes to open. Thank you.